we're hoping to have a little conversation here. We are two dear friends, Shannon and Majora, who are both esteemed authors, both with books coming out, by the way. Who are both, in different ways, for me anyway, mentors and experts for why place and neighborhood and parish matters so much, just like what Brent was saying. Mm-hmm. So maybe for both of you, like for your own life, for your practice, why in the world does neighborhood and place and parish matter so much for you?
I guess I would just say, we think of, I love that we're talking a lot about sort of agricultural metaphor through this. And I know, I live in Indiana in the Midwest. We're just getting to the tail end of garden season. And so we've got our little plot out by the alley. And I pay a lot of attention to what's happening out there. I think it has a lot to teach us. And just as a flower or a tomato, it's not just in the soil, it's really of the soil. Mm. I think the ground that we're on, the hope is that we could just be not on it, that we're not just in a particular place, but that we're really of the place where we've been planted, where we are hopefully really growing our roots down. I think we can't love something that we don't really see, and we can't really see if we're not really paying attention to our place, being very present down at street level. So yeah, I think that's the particularities of our place is what we are becoming.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, and that's, wow, that was intense. In part because it's like you don't really, if you have trouble seeing what you want to become, like, can you actually become it? And so for me, the whole idea of sense of place is that, because we are our environment, so we do have to either understand in particular in terms of community, it's like that it is a place, yes, but it's also an activity. And is the activity actually creating something that makes you feel like my environment is fabulous and beautiful around me and it's nurturing me and it's nurturing others, or is it something that makes me want to flee? And if you're, in the cave, so to speak, like, do you feel as though like, I'm going to stay in this cave because I don't believe that there's anything else out there for me, or am I going to get out of this cave because like I'm afraid of everything? And so either way, it's like I feel like the whole idea of making sure that we feel as though our communities are places in which nurture us and love us and make us feel like we don't have to move anywhere in order to live in the kind of place that makes us feel like this is awesome. Then we've got a problem if we're not creating the actual infrastructure for people to be allowed to do just that.
Yes. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. So I hear there's a whole bunch of streams that we could follow there, but one of them that I heard is there's this beautiful essay by Wendell Berry, who a lot of us love, who says it all turns on affection. And he was talking about literally all of creation, like what you were saying, Shannon, like, if you don't care for it, if you don't love it, and if you can't see it, there will be no real change. And then I'm also hearing you, Majora, say, so that's maybe something we could tease out. There's also this sense, and Brent's story like eliminated this beautifully, is like, our places are, they're not a window into, they are actual reality. And this is funny to say right now, in some ways, because we're safely trying to figure out how to have this conversation, but I feel like it takes courage, it takes strength to have that affection for our places. It's a window into what's really, really, really happening in the very particulars of our streets and relationships and places. Does that bring up anything for you, either of those strains?
I mean, it's for me, definitely, especially if you're, come from a place, where you're led to believe that it's an awful place. Like if it's written off, then you are always like thinking like, I need to get out of here in order to save myself. And I think that's what the culture kind of tells us about, different communities, in particular ones that are considered disadvantaged, or, I think that's probably sums it up. But it's, for me in my work, it has always been about, there's like beautiful assets in our own communities. Maybe what we need to do is figure out like our sense and our ability to turn them into real treasures.
Yeah.
And knowing that the first treasure is actually us, that we were fearfully and wonderfully made. And then secondly, is like, how do we use all that we have to create the kind of love and affection, within our own communities that make us feel like, yeah, this is the place, this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
And, it's just hard, in so many ways, when you're told that the place where you are has so little value, because of course it reflects on you, because we are a part of our environment, and and from the inside and outside of communities that have been written off, it makes us feel like there's nothing good about us, and that's the tragedy. But it's not true.
Yeah,
it's just not true.
Right. Yeah, I think for me, I guess I'll say it's a practice in attending to my place. So we think of attending to, for me, it's being really intentional about paying attention to what is around me. And like you said, Majora, finding that beauty that's there, finding that life that's there, those assets, to use your words. I mean, to intentionally seek every single day to attend to the particulars of my place in a way that is actively seeking what's beautiful, what's already there, and what's bubbling up.
Right. And when you do that, what it does is it inspires others to do a couple things. One, they recognize that it's possible. Two, it may give them inspiration to do it themselves, and to try it. And it's the kind of thing that does actually pay forward. And I'm sure you've seen that. I know you both have seen that. In your own respective work, kingdom building, or just your general, the work that you do. It's all a part of that, because that is our job, I think. Is to just show what's possible, and to show how deeply our lives can be of service and of love to others, using our work.
Yeah. I think affection is infectious. So I think it does. There's this magic that happens when there's nothing better for me than seeing somebody around me, one of my neighbors, loving our place, finding beauty, capturing the beauty.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it does. It makes us imagine more. Imagine possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it probably goes the other way too. Like when as Majora said, if there's this sense of believing the lie that this place doesn't have a lot to offer, doesn't have a lot to teach. I mean, someone's probably benefiting from that, actually.
But it's not the folks in that particular community at all.
Right.
And that's what's really tragic. I love the fact, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that it's when you see someone, from your own community, loving up on what you've done and knowing that it's going to have an impact, on them. And I want them to be the beneficiaries, of our work. And, and that's the kind of payment that's just my gosh, it's incredible.
Yeah. It's sustaining.
Yeah. For all the crap that you sometimes have to deal with to get to the point where you're building things, and it's why am I doing this? And then you see the smile of somebody, looking at your flowers, or I see folks at a park or a cafe that I was
planting their own garden.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
For either of you, I mean, it's been tricky, of course, the last year and a half, 2 years. But are there practices that you've picked up to even better pay attention to some of the glory and beauty that is happening right in front of you in your neighborhood? Is anything new that you've been doing?
Oh, we had to do a lot of stuff new, but we outside, so that kind of made life, the people were just desperate for interactions, and so we have a cafe that we did programming outside, whether it was art shows and open mics and music and stuff, and it was just neighbors had a chance to safely connect, and that was just beautiful, just incredible.
Yeah. And I think this is something that's been important to me, a practice that's been important for a long time, but it works in a pandemic, so it's great. But I advocate all the time for people to take walks in their neighborhood. It is the most basic and simple thing, but for me, and it's great to take walks without our phones. I like to bring mine and take pictures of something beautiful that I found, and it builds that. It just builds that vision, and it sustains the the mindfulness and the awareness that the beauty is already there. It's there.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, you can probably tell that we could talk about this all day long. Our time is coming towards the end, but I don't know if you can clap with your little avatars. Y'all can. Thank you, dear friends.